Our labor and delivery did not go as planned and was definitely a little bit scary. This morning, I'm gonna do a get ready with me and tell you what happened. To start things out, I was due to have little Nora on May 31st and she was born May 15th. So on Saturday the 13th, Tom and I were at our friend's daughter's birthday party, and I was having some swelling, which was normal throughout pregnancy for me up until that time. However, towards the end of the party, the swelling was getting really bad, and I said, listen, Tom, we gotta go home. I just don't feel so great. When we got home, I laid down on the couch and I started to get a headache, and I noticed that the swelling was getting worse. We took my blood pressure and I believe it was like 140/92. So it was a little bit above where it should have been. But we called my doctor's office and they said, go down to triage so they can monitor my blood pressure. Then we called our doula and we let her know what was going on, and she said to pack your hospital bag just in case. When we got down to the hospital, they monitored my blood pressure for 3 hours, I wanna say. I also had protein in my urine, which was a sign of preeclampsia as well. Long story short, after 3 hours of being at the hospital, my blood pressure spiked. With that and the protein in my urine and the swelling, I was diagnosed with preeclampsia and they had to induce me. I was only a centimeter dilated. So they had to give me, I think it was called Mezzo. I could be incorrect about this. It's like a little pill that they put next to your cervix to help soften it before they can dilate it with Pitocin. That went all the way up until Sunday the 14th, which was Mother's Day. And around noon on Mother's Day, I was finally 3 centimeters dilated and they could start Pitocin. And let me just say, when that Pitocin hit, oh my gosh, the cramps were brutal. I'm having really bad cramps from Pitocin and I start with laughing gas. The laughing gas did its job and I was able to take a little bit of a nap. I woke up around maybe 5 o'clock and the cramps were getting really bad. So we started the epidural. Around 2 a.m. on the 15th is when I started pushing. First hour of pushing was honestly just a learning curve for me. I had heard that it feels like you have to poop, so that's how I was pushing, which was not correct, and definitely don't do that because I had really bad hemorrhoids after, and that's completely why. But once I got the hang of how to push, I got into like a really good rhythm and we kind of had things figured out. During that time, we had some really amazing nurses in the room. The doula had some like twinkle lights going on. Tom was playing music. The vibe in the room was just really, really good. I pushed for a total of 3 hours. Nora was born at 5:18 a.m. and that's when things got really scary. So they put Nora on my chest and they started to stimulate her and she wasn't crying. Took her off my chest and they brought her over to the little baby like bassinet that they had and they called a code blue. She was not breathing. 12 to 15 nurses and doctors rushed into the room to help her out. I was sobbing uncontrollably. Tom had his back to them. He couldn't even look at the doctors. Honestly, just a very scary time. But I was just so scared and my mind went to, she's a stillborn. We lost another baby, and that is genuinely what I thought. After 5 minutes of stimulating her, I believe they put oxygen on her. She finally started crying and it was honestly just like such a surreal moment. We finally took a deep breath and they brought her back over and put her on my chest, and Tom and I were able to just hold her and have that skin to skin time with her. But it was so scary and it was so traumatic. Definitely not how we wanted her to enter the world. Thankfully, I didn't have any tearing and I delivered the placenta and the afterbirth while that whole 5-minute situation was going on, so I truly don't even remember that happening. After that, things seemed to have been good. We were discharged to our recovery room. My mom was able to come just a few hours later. She happened to be near town, and Tom's mom was able to come as well, so she was able to meet her grandparents around like 3 hours of birth, which was really exciting. She had all of her checkups. We did have another little scare when her pediatrician came in. They thought that they heard a heart murmur, so then she had to have an echo. It ended up being okay. It was just her little body. Things were still opening and closing and the sound that they heard wasn't anything to be concerned about. Finally, Tuesday night at 7 o'clock, we were able to go home. So happy to be able to say that everyone is home, everyone is safe, and we're all doing really well, and Nora is absolutely perfect.